Friends and viewer, Gustave Flaubert, well-known French writer, he's also famous for one of his famous classical novel, Madame Bovary. Gustave Flaubert, who born in 1821 and he died in 1880. I have in my hand today one of his short story in my hand, the name of which is A Simple Heart written by Gustave Flaubert. It is published in 1877. A Simple Heart is the short story of by Gustave Flaubert that appeared in his book Three Tales. A story is also known as A Simple Soul. A story follows like this: the kind and loving maidservant Felicite, from her youth to her death, and detail the many loves that she loses along the way. It is published in 1877. For 50 years, Home Made Felicite, the heroine of this short story, has worked for Madame Aubin, keeping house, cooking, darning, washing, ironing, bridling the horses, feeding the chicken, and churning butter. She does this for only 100 francs a year. And Madame Aubin is the envy of the other ladies in Pont Evacuo for employing her. Felicite has remained loyal to Madame Aubin, even though she is not the kindest person. Then Madame Aubin has widowed in 1809. While caring for two young children, she was in the substantial debt and had to sell all of her property, save two farms that provides her meager income. Before she worked for Madame Aubin, Felicite met a man named Theodore at a fair. While walking her home, he threw her to the ground and Felicite ran away. Later, Theodore asked her for forgiveness and the two began a relationship. When she went to meet him one night, his friend was there in his stead, and he revealed that Theodore had married an older, wealthy woman to avoid the draft. Felicite then quit her earlier job and began working for Madame Aubin as a cook. She grew attached to Aubin's children, Paul and Virginie, and started keeping the house as well. One day when the family and Felicite are taking a walk on their farm along the seashore, a bull attacks them. Felicite managed to distract the bull from the family and then escape over the fence. The bull encounter frightens Virginie and the doctor diagnoses her as having a nervous ailment. Following the doctor's advice, the family goes to a beach in Trouville. There, Felicite, long-lost sister Nastasia Barrett, recognizes her and the two become reacquainted. Felicite assisted her sister and her three children, and the Madame Aubin suspect they are taking advantage of her. She also does like that Felicite low-class nephew Victor is befriending her son, Paul. When they move back to Pont Evacuo, Paul goes away to school and Felicite accompanies Virginie to her catechism classes. Felicite learned the catechism as well, and soon both Virginie and Felicite take communion. Then Virginie goes to boarding school where both Felicite and Madame Aubin are saddened when Virginie leaves, and Felicite asks if Victor can come to visit. Victor visits every Sunday and grows close to his aunt. One day, Victor decides to go for a 2-year stint working on a ship. Felicite walks 14 miles to Honfleur, where Victor is to cast off. She arrives just as the ship is leaving. Victor looks up at her before sailing out of sight. She distraught and prays for Victor. Meanwhile, Virginie has contracted another illness and Madame Aubin is worried. Felicite tells her that she is sad about Victor, attempting to empathize, and Madame Aubin dismisses her grief as trivial. Felicite later learns from the pharmacist that Victor has made it to Havana. All that she knows of geography she learned from a book Paul showed her. So she seeked out Madame Aubin's lawyer and lover to ask if Victor would come back and land or from Cuba. The lawyer takes out a map and Felicite asks where Victor's house is, causing the lawyer to laugh. Due to her simple heart, few weeks later, a farmer brings Felicite a letter. Madame Aubin reads it to her. Victor has died in the America. Felicite falls to the ground. Heartbroken, she doesn't visit her sister as Madame Aubin suggests, but goes on finishing the laundry. Virginia was getting better, but soon contract pneumonia. When Madame Aubin and Felicite are preparing to visit her, Felicite realizes she might not have locked the gate and jumps out of the carriage to check. She arrives at the convent the next day to find that Virginia has died. Madame Aubin shuts herself in the room for months, claiming she's seen the ghost of her dead family member in the garden. Her friends stop coming around. Felicite visits Virginia grave every day, and Paul spends all his time getting drunk in tavern. Felicite spends some time volunteering for the war effort. She serves the soldiers, Cedar helps a wounded vagrant, and tends to refugees and Gloria patients. When the town's sub-prefect dies, his servant gives his parrot Lulu to Madame Aubin. Madame Aubin gives Lulu to Felicite, who loves the bird because it comes from America, reminding her of Victor. One day, Felicite can't find Lulu and searches desperately for him. The bird lands unexpectedly on her shoulder and shocks her, causing her to take ill and go deaf. One winter, Lulu dies. Felicite takes the bird to the next town to have him stuffed and is knocked unconscious by carriage along the way. When she recovers, she takes Lulu to the taxidermist. She compares the stuffed Lulu to the dove of the Holy Spirit, ascending, and put him next to a print of baptism of Jesus. When Madame Aubin lawyer dies, she discovers that he has been mismanaging her account and stealing from her. In her shock, she catches pneumonia and dies. Paul has since married an unpleasant woman, and he comes to the house and sells some furniture. No one wants to buy the house, and the roof leaks in Felicite's room all winter. She too catches pneumonia. As a priest comes to perform her last rite, Felicite hallucinates. She kisses the broken down stuffed Lulu. A procession is outside celebrating Corpus Christi, and when their incense pour into the room, Felicite sees a vision of a giant parrot welcoming her to heaven. A simple heart mirrors some of Flaubert's own simple life experience. He once lived in a farmhouse in Normandy and stuffed an epileptic seizure like his character Felicite. Originally, this short story is written in French. This is the same is translated into English in 1924. He is a simple heart, and it is a novella by Gustave Flaubert, who published it in his Three Tales in 1877. This story centers around a servant girl named Felicite. Felicite, the only love, Theodore marries a wealthier woman, and to avoid conscription, leaving the farm where she works. Felicite travels to Port Evacu and becomes the servant of a widow. There she lives out her life humble, angelic, and deeply loyal servitude, despite the fact that she is uneducated, has no family, no life outside her work, aside from her faith, and dies almost unnoticed by anyone. Felicite's simple existence is full of deep spiritual meaning. Some of the themes of novella include the consolation of church and domestic life, the richness of memory, and the precursion of daily events on the psyche. The story inspired Julian Barnes's novel Flaubert Parrot, published in 1844. So, ladies and gentlemen, this Gustave Flaubert, no doubt a great French writer, who is also the author of Madame Bovary, had written this simple heart. I hope you will enjoy it, and when you go through the pages of this short story. Thank you.